Teaching in Chile historically has been questioned, especially since the 80s, due to decline that suffered the initial teacher training with the transfer, which lasted 10 years from the university to institutes. Additionally, the explosion of careers in the pedagogic area without need for accreditation was the tonic of our country for decades. However, with the law of inclusion and the law of education quality assurance systems, the situation has been changing gradually from the point of view of a requirement in universities regarding the accreditation and validation of pedagogical careers. We cannot even talk about concrete results since it takes many years to show real changes. But what we can talk about especially is surveys, which are carried out in order to monitor the situation of Chilean teachers.
For example, the Teaching Longitudinal Survey 2005, which was conducted by the Microdata Center of the Department of Economics of the University of Chile, commissioned by the Division of Planning and Budget of the Ministry of Education, DIPLAB, arise from the need to have an instrument that allows to study the reality of teachers in Chile and evaluate the programs that are involved with them. The representative sample is of 6,000 teachers of the national level, teachers of the different levels of education and different administrative dependencies of the educational establishments in which they work, specifically addressing the issue of teacher vocation, which shows worrying figures. For example, seek to measure or detect how interested they were in studying a career in the area of education. At a general level, it is observed that, independent of the career in the area of education actually studied, less than the 50% of teachers wanted to study a career in the area of education when they were leaving the secondary school. As a result of that, a series of factors arise throughout the professional career that affect even more the teaching vocation, and it is in those factors on which this documentary is based. Also, making a comparison between the reality of a teacher from the private sector and another from the public sector of education in Chile.
This comparison will be carried out through a personal interview with the aforementioned teachers, and the factors that affect the teaching vocation will be addressed, which are the difficulties that arise to teach, the teaching that the practice leaves them in the classroom, the support that the school gives them to be able to do their work. Also, the support of the parents with the respect to the education of their children. And finally, the disciplines in the establishment in which they currently work. Now we will see the interviews. And now we are going to show you the interview of the teachers, Pamela Rodriguez, who works at Liam Private High School, and Jocelyn Vasquez, who works at Poveda Public School. Some of the students have a lack of respect with the teachers because they think that as we receive a salary, we are their employees. That type of thinking came from their families. However, they are students really motivated and they participate in everything.
We have to face plenty of difficulties. For example, the bad behavior, the lack of motivation. Actually, some students are involved with drugs, alcohol, even delinquencies as a result of their environment. These situations really affect their academic performance.
I have learned that the appearance is so far from the reality because these students seem to have everything, but they really have a huge gap of emotional support. And I try to fulfill it in some way. Actually, this is my motivation every day.
Well, I have learned that every bad behavior has a cause. These students have lived terrible situations in their lives, and if you, as a teacher, try to get involved in their life, you can help them in a way, giving them a real support.
I can say that school gives me all the tools that I need to develop my class in a good way. For example, in every classroom there are a lot of resources that I can use, like interactive screens, data projector, and English software in every level of the school. So it is a complete support for the teaching learning process.
Well, this is a difficult issue in this school because we have a huge lack of resources. Even the infrastructure of the school has damage. Also, in the classroom, the chairs and the table are not in the better conditions. And I only have a whiteboard to explain the contents. And let me tell you that this is very demotivating.
Well, some of the parents do not have the time to be there, helping their children because of their demanding jobs. However, there are some mothers that are very involved with activities of the school and they support their children in every aspect. And because of that, they have a very good academic performance.
Well, we know as a school that the support of the family is very important, and we try to encourage this aspect, but sadly without good result. Most of the families do not care about the education of their children because they do not have a complete education and they do not consider it important. This directly affects the academic performance of the school.
Discipline in general is good. The only issue that we have to manage is bullying. This is a strong issue in this school. Fortunately, it has been implementing a program to deal with it, having really good results, and I have been implementing it in my classes. It works effectively.
Discipline is a huge problem here. We must be very strict to keep the control of the students. And, well, for example, in my class, we have several rules, almost for everything. But in spite of that, it is difficult to manage the discipline inside the classroom. Difficult.
Well, I think that is very good. Most of the teachers that I have met working in a private sector are very good professionals, and that is expresses in their classes, of course. However, I think that Chilean educational system in general has many aspects to improve, and one of them is the inequality of resources. I know that can be difficult, but I am not going to lose the hope that someday public and private sector will have the same quality of education.
There are so many things to change. It is difficult to face the difficulties that the Chilean educational system brings us as a teacher. It is hard not to lose hope, and vocation plays a really important role. That is what keeps you fighting day after day, trying to do your best in spite of everything. But hopefully, one day, the public and the private sector will be of the same quality. Meanwhile, we must go ahead. That's it.
Many factors and situations can demotivate teachers,
Many times their vocation will be tested.
but at the end, the most important thing
Is do not lose the hope and keep fighting for equality and quality of education.